It's wintertime again, and depending on your longitude and latitude, you know what that means.
Drops of rain frozen into ice crystal.
On the one hand, ice and snow can be pretty to look at, painting open landscapes into winter wonderlands. On the other hand, every single ding-ding-dong human being with a pulse will tell you that it is a bitch and a half to travel through and live with. You think it's bad now? Imagine what would happen if winter became weaponized.
Stop! I wish to rule you!
Well, today we're gonna find that out as we recall the enemies that were born straight from the frozen element, or had to master it at their fingertips. And for the sake of my sanity, we're gonna try to refrain from all the usual cheap ice puns. Why does that feel like an omen of doom?
Because the script says ominous music plays.
Rhetorical question! Honestly, I don't even know how to describe this guy. Well, maybe except...
I'm fabulous! I'm fabulous!
I would have also said Metaton as a figure skater. Both fit Tundra Man to a T. He's an ice dancer. He's glitzy and flashy, and he lives for the spotlight. He's gonna skate circles around us and look fabulous doing it. And yes, even he is not immune to making the cheesy ice puns.
You're skating on thin ice.
There are worse ones out there.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!
It's not just his personality. Tundra Man's entire boss battle is just one big ice show, complete with 3 spotlights, and he's even more than prepared to fight for his 15 minutes of fame. He can strike at you at lightning speed and deliver a devastating icy blow with his Tundra Storm weapon. Fortunately, beating him really isn't much of a challenge. Just evade his attacks as much as you can and shoot him down. Once you give him the metaphorical hook, you'll walk away with his Tundra Storm, which helps you do major damage to enemies above and below you. Plus, it's gonna come in handy when you go up against Torch Man. Honestly, the only reason Tundra Man's so low on the list is that he really isn't that hard to beat. But dang it if he doesn't put on a heck of a show. Figure skating is a really underrated winter sport that not many can master, and to see it used in combat like this just feels right for some reason. In the Gen 8 Pokemon titles, the Sirchester Stadium actually has a different coat of paint depending on which game you picked. In Sword, it's a rock-based gym headed by Gordy, who kind of looks like a preteen Jack Black. In Shield, however, it's all ice-based and led by Gordy's mom, Melanie, and... Wait a second. I think I have a type. Joking aside, Melanie is the living embodiment of a mama bear. No, a mama polar bear. Outside of the gym, she's a sweet, huggable lady that gets Ariel teary-eyed because of her body type. But in the gym, she's a calm, strict drill instructor that can whip any trainer into a champion. Or just whip them right out the door. A lot of people think it all stems from a fight she had with her son, which really adds more relatability to her as a person. Tensions between mother and child are bound to leave a few emotional scars.
Are you about to call me a no, sir? No, sir!
In her case, though, it made her a deadly opponent to combat against, especially when you see her lineup. Ice-Q is definitely something, almost a puzzle if you don't know it's coming and what its gimmick is. Frostmoth is a gorgeous bug that bites back hard if you don't take it out quickly. Darmanitan, now with built-in ice afro, is a heavy hitter that can take a punch and give it right back. And Lapras? Well, just think of how tough a regular Lapras could be, now Gigantamax it and watch it turn into a flipping cruise ship that can demolish anything in its path. And later on, you get a chance to fight Melanie again post-championship. By that point, she's bulked her team's moveset even more, and even adds Mr. Rhyme to her lineup, who kind of looks like Charlie Chaplin as a circus clown. Pokemon designs are weird. You might be wondering what makes her so special. We've had plenty of ice gym leaders, and even a few ice trainers in the Elite Four. Well, in addition to her lineup, she's also got a nicely designed stadium, which can also be said for Gordy since it's technically his domain as well. But what really separates Melanie from the other ice-type gym leaders is her personality. Bryson is a little too... cold.
Not okay!
Candace is kinda one note, and Price is a little lackluster in the game since you don't get to interact with him outside of the gym until the remakes, etc. So really, having an exceptional team behind her and a relatable, charming personality is what really makes Melanie stand out the most. Also, seeing plus-size women getting more validation is a highly appreciated touch. Sick, thick, and a strong team so ridic. Ari wrote that, blame her.
I'm not apologizing.
What happened? happens when you see Samus running towards you? You ran away from her. Does it make grammatical sense?
I have no idea what that meant.
Been a while since I talked about Metroid, huh? Okay, let me rephrase. Been a while since I talked about a Metroid game that people actually like. So let's talk Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. Since we're talking about ice bosses, the only one that makes sense is Metroid's coolest bounty hunter, Rundus. Just gonna let that one go. Rundus is one of the bounty hunters that were hired to assist in fighting the Phazon virus that acts as the main threat throughout Prime 3. Being from the planet Phrygius, best known for its ice mining, Rundus' race is known for its control over, you guessed it, ice. Already, he's a contender just from that, but when he's corrupted by the Phazon virus and is forced to fight you, you can really see how his skill shines. The Phazon virus amplifies his abilities, allowing him to don full ice armor, glide around the arena Frozone style, and generate large ice chunks to use as projectiles. To beat him, you need to weaken his ice armor and then break open his icy shell, leaving him vulnerable to your attacks. The battle ends, unfortunately, with Rundus' death and Dark Samus stealing his energy, but at least you get the ice missiles. That's good, right? Well, no, it's a sad fight. You don't want to beat him, but there isn't any choice. Plus, it makes you realize what happened to the other bounty hunters as well. Either way, Rundus is a worthy adversary that will take skill to beat, and hopefully, you don't slip up. Well, another boss countdown, another beast from Monster Hunter to choose from the set. Well, since we're talking about ice and definitely not thinking about narwhal sharks, let's choose what looks like a narwhal shark. Hi, Zam Trios. Zam Trios is a monster introduced in Monster Hunter 4, and it makes an appearance by chasing palicos and making them seem like scaredy cats. You see that fin, and your thoughts are a combination of, okay, I guess we're doing this now, and nope, 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 nope. Its main gimmick is its ability to create an ice coating around its body, giving extra attack range as well as extra defense. Also, it has an ice horn at its head, which makes it look like a narwhal. Still not convinced? It can dive underwater and shoot straight up, trying to impale you with that horn. Besides that, it can cover you with snow, limiting your abilities, launch spike shards at you, and give you fun status effects like Water Blight and Ice Blight, which does great things to your stamina. Its other main ability is to blow up like a balloon, which does make it more susceptible to attacks, but it can also bounce around and cause AoE ice attacks from the ground and deplete air from its body to cause its own ice blight. So it can blow up like a frog and has a giant horn. So it's a narwhal shark frog? Okay, someone was having too much fun in the design department. Someone put that on a Magic the Gathering card. To beat this thing, you will need to use heavy crush weapons to break its ice armor or have blight resist to counter its own blights. While it being underwater or blown up gives access to additional areas to hit, you need to be wary of its attacks. It's pretty hectic, but that's Monster Hunter for you. Ice levels in video games can be hit or miss. The physics in a lot of them can be frustrating, and for some reason, the enemies are just a pain. But they can also look amazing and have great set pieces. The Snow Peak Ruins in Zelda Twilight Princess can be considered a good ice level. If you ignore enemies that can freeze you, block puzzles that take forever to solve, and the whole gimmick of the temple is to find a room key only to find soup ingredients instead, then yeah, it's good. Well, at the very least, we get a good boss at the end of it. A surprising boss at the end of it. Blizzetta is the corrupted form of Yetta, a Yeti who is trying to help you throughout the dungeon by sending you places to find a room key only to find soup ingredients. Okay, I know, but come on, why is their home full of ice monsters with spears anyway? Right, the boss. Blizzetta fights you by surrounding herself with ice and dropping herself and other ice chunks at you. With the ball and chain, you need to keep watch of where she will drop and then hit her until her ice armor is gone. You need to be careful as you can slide a bit on the ice below, or time it right as the ball and chain can slow you down heavily. But you can predict her attacks by looking at the floor. Just remember to keep watch for the other ice chunks. They can act as a circle and drop on you when you least expect it. But what truly makes Blizzetta memorable is that not only was Yetta kind of adorable, but the whole theme of love. I mean, the item in this dungeon is literally a ball and chain. But once you beat Blizzetta, the husband comes in and the two are just they're loving a heart container. That's just so precious. The Nightmare Before Christmas music serving as her boss theme doesn't hurt either. Blizzetta isn't a long boss fight, but in normal Zelda fashion, the scale and intensity of the situation make it worthwhile. Especially in Twilight Princess, where the bosses range from ramming a giant skull with a Beyblade to chasing a dragon's tail like Spider-Man. Huh. Just realized the last 3 bosses had some armor you needed to break. Talk about an icebreaker challenge. Halfway through, Josh. Halfway through. You can do this. The Crystal King, on the surface, is just another Bowser minion guarding another MacGuffin. The last one you need before you confront Bowser himself, as it happens. The Crystal King is a more powerful minion to be sure, and will rip you to shreds if you don't know what you're doing, but he's still another minion. Though that begs the question, how does Bowser win the loyalty of guys like the Crystal King? You know, fanfic writers, get on that. All joking aside, the Crystal King is a textbook example ice user. He summons sentient blocks of ice, blows out chilling air that can freeze you solid, can create ice clones of himself, and he can self-heal.
Okay, hacks. I call hacks.
Interestingly, the Crystal King seems to draw power from the ice blocks he summons, as the number of attacks he performs is tied directly to how many ice blocks he has available to him. Make sure you take all those out first or else you're gonna be hurting. But yeah, I've always wanted to know this and it's never explained. What is the Crystal King's deal? Is he a victim of death by frostbite? Is he a product of some evil ritual? Maybe he's just misunderstood? Well, we don't know. The Crystal King appears, takes over the Crystal Palace on Bowser's behest, and vanishes after he's defeated. Nothing's really explained about him, yet I still find myself being very interested in who he is and why he is. Well, hey, at least his minions, the Duplighosts, are cool, and even one of them goes on to be one of the most infuriating little weasels of the sequel, Thousand Year Door. Gotta take your wins when you can get them, right? You bored yet of me talking about Kingdom Hearts? No? Great, more ad rev. So since we're talking about ice, we should talk about Vexen, right? Well, it might be vexing to say this, but he's not my choice. Instead, we shall go into the world of Frozen and see how Kingdom Hearts handles Norse wolves.
Skull.
Skull is apparently the embodiment of darkness lurking in Hans's heart. And because Arendelle seemed as rushed as the rest of the story, that's pretty much the only reason that we fight him. Yeah, I would be upset about that if the fight itself wasn't stupid awesome! This battle is like the fight against Scar in KH2 on steroids. Skull is a much bigger threat with wide-reaching claw attacks, little skull spawns that run around the arena and charge into you, and of course, the Dark Spirit Bomb of Death that I gushed about during top 10 KH bosses. Time section aside, this battle is really freaking cool, and it really helps with Kingdom Hearts 3's fast-paced and kind of broken battle system. While most of Skull's attacks aren't really ice-themed, considering he's a Norse snow wolf and he is the boss of a snow world, he still fits the criteria for this list. Though let's be fair, he's only here because of that spirit bomb. That's so cool. And considering Disney oversaturates Frozen like I oversaturate Kingdom Hearts references, kind of work well together. You know, as cool as it is having so many great games based on Greek mythology, I'm glad the Norse is getting a little more representation nowadays. It's why I appreciate bold and thorough attempts to showcase this goldmine of great story beats like Asgard's Wrath. In the story, after you defeat Tyr and try to celebrate, Loki's daughter Hel busts in. Apparently, she's using Freya's legendary necklace, the Brisingamen, to power an army of undead to attack Midgard. Well, can't have that. Freya asks you to get it back from old Janus, and long story short, you get there, then Hel knocks you out of your host. Said host being the current guy you were possessing. Yeah, Norse mythology is weird like that. And then...
You seek some kind of reward. Well, you'll both certainly get what you deserve.
Yay.
Yes, go, real!
In a freaking awesome sequence, Hel takes you to an ice platform where she begins to attack you with various projectiles and summons while you have to defend yourself with your bow. All the while, you can't move. In other words, Hel essentially turns the game into a first-person tower defense game.
A surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one.
In this case, though, the tower is you. Hel's attacks consist of summoning a glyph, pelting you with ice chunks, and gathering souls. You gotta keep looking around because she darts around the cloudy battlefield really fast, and as you deal more damage to her, her attacks power up. What really sells this fight is the sheer variety and spectacle that it has. It would be really easy for this to just turn into a slog, but Hell is able to keep the fight consistently fun and engaging throughout.
Well, that's what I would have said had the game's ending not retroactively ruined everything I loved about this game.
I'm not bitter.
There isn't a WoW player alive that doesn't know the legend of Arthas Menethil. Once a benevolent prince aimed to purge his kingdom of a deathly plague, he ended up stumbling down the path of darkness that turned him into the Dark Lord of the Dead himself, the Lich King. In the last stage of his very own expansion, he awaits us in the ice-crowned citadel with his ghoulish longsword Frostmourne, aiming to command an army of the undead and add more to his forces to hold Azeroth in his icy grip of death.
Pure poetry.
Now, all that sounds pretty on paper, but does Artie have the skills to back his bravado up? Well, he's number 2, ain't he? He's a heavy hitter with his attacks, and he can use his icy element to conjure storms and ice spears to knock you out of your pants. He even comes equipped with shadow abilities that will gnaw away at you little by little, and can even raise the dead to overwhelm you. And if you're hit by his fury of Frostmourne, there may be no coming back. While Sephiroth's been deemed gaming's Darth Vader in terms of status, Arthas definitely steals the title in terms of plot and story beats. He carries practically the most lore out of any World of Warcraft boss ever, and his face is basically an icon of evil. This guy was so big, his expansion triggered the highest sub count that World of Warcraft ever had. And also one of the game's biggest scandals when a guild used an exploit to score the first 25-man kill on Arthas. But then again, it's Blizzard, and they're no stranger to scandals.
Oh, looky. A Blizzard character on an ice boss's list. Ha 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 ha.
Vague, Tales of Rebirth, fighting the ice-wielding hero while he's temporarily cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Vexen, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, and 2. Not a bad fight, but a bit too easy to cheese via fire. Frost King, Castle Crashers. Last phase is a bit too teleport happy, so it doesn't quite make the cut.
Oh, gosh. Finally we are at number 1, so we can finally end all these stupid ice puns. Alright, who is it?
Tonight's forecast. A freeze is coming.
Oh.
All right, everyone. A freeze
Victor Freeze's story is a familiar one. A scientist and loving husband trying to cure his wife of her fatal illness, but a lab accident leaves him literally chilled to the bone, unable to survive in warm temperatures outside of his suit, and forced into a life of crime not only to survive, but to save his beloved Nora. He is unquestionably one of the most tragic Batman villains of all time, so you know the Arkham series has to do him justice, and they do so in spades. For half of Arkham City, he's more of a reluctant ally / anti-hero than a villain, which is fitting for his character. He's coerced into helping develop a cure for what ails Batman and Joker, but his patience is wearing thin. What finally sets him off? The idea that his wife, the one shining jewel in his miserable life, might be in danger.
What the? How can you fight someone so loyal to his loved ones? Oh, he's got a boiling temper. Ironic.
Obviously, taking him on headfirst would be suicide, so the only way to beat him is to stay out of his sight and plan ahead to surprise and incapacitate him. But just a warning, Freeze is smart. He learns from his mistakes and won't fall for the same trap twice, so you better learn fast too. You do fight him again in Arkham Origins, and that level itself is a nice refresher on Freeze's backstory, and the fight definitely puts you on the edge, but it doesn't feel quite as claustrophobic as Cities. In Origins, you still gotta be sneaky and avoid Freeze, but the area is a lot wider, and most of the time he has his goons do all the dirty work. But in City? No way. It's just you two playing a game of cat and mouse. You gotta make the most of what little space you're given, and you gotta be ready to preserve your life. Just how immersive and nerve-wracking this experience is more than justifies Freeze's place on this list. Also, just a side note, there is a side mission in which you can find Nora somewhere in Arkham City and let Freeze know that she's safe. It's completely optional, but I recommend it even if you're not a completionist. Seriously, this guy's had a rough life as it is. You at least owe him this.
I'm the Fiery Joker, and... Jeez. Well, at least I learned my lesson last time and got a generator out. This year really sucked.
Cut!
Hey everyone, this is Josh. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share the video around. Please check out my other social media like my Twitter, Twitch, and Tumblr. Check out my other channels such as Joshua Burner for reactions and other stuff, Dragon Fighter Gaming for tabletop, and Bob Equestria for cartoons. Consider checking below the video and donating to my Patreon, Streamlabs for my merchandise, or becoming a YouTube member, and you'll get rewards like this. Our name shoutouts come from Ryan Anderson, Angelic Phoenix, and Misty Phantom. Our regular shoutout comes from Ryan Anderson, who says, "Stay safe this holiday season and best wishes from Scotland." Thanks for watching.